Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And on this path of mastery, we are here with Danielle Rama Hoffman today, who is a scribe for the master Thoth and also the Council of Light. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how we too can scribe with universal cosmic consciousness. And we're going to talk about those things that block us. Danielle, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited and really just feeling so blessed and graced to be able to co-create.
Well, I love every conversation with you. It's such a magical, sacred space. Every time I have an interaction with you, the vibration is so high that I literally feel it in my body. Sometimes I have to go lay down, maybe sleep a little bit. Sometimes I literally get dizzy. And most recently, I'm just elated. So I hope that all of our viewers and listeners feel that same presence with you. This is really divine transmissions. For those who don't know you, share a little bit about what you're doing because it's exquisite.
Yes, so I co-create divine transmissions with a light being for a partner called Thoth or Thoth, the Egyptian god of infinite wisdom and keeper of the Akashic records, and really support individuals to be living your purpose without that fear and shame and doubt, really in unity consciousness. And so in particular, what I'm up to in this now moment has a lot to do with scribing with guides, which is how I create my life, and really is that shift from doing things the hard way, in my opinion, to really being plugged into the higher self and leading a life co-created with source or the divine or spirit. So I know that's a little bit of an introduction in a crash course, but there's a lot that we could talk about in terms of what I'm up to. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So scribing with our guides, your guide is Thoth, and we can feel him come through many times, a very powerful being. So we create our life with these guides by tapping into that higher consciousness. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that really is where we are empowered. In a way, would you say that Thoth is a higher aspect of you?
Wow, beautiful question. You know, I think because we've partnered now so long together in such a primary way, I think I've run the gamut on, am I Thoth? Is he a higher aspect of me? Does he exist? Does he not? You know, like all of it. I even had a period where I was like, okay, you're fired. You know, it's like to really have that deep connection with a primary partnership. And so I would say that from my perspective, there is that as above, so below, as within, so without, which he's so well known for the Emerald Tablets. And so in a sense, I would agree that there is an inner Thoth or Thoth within each of us, that we have access to infinite knowledge, that we are gods and goddesses of infinite knowledge. And yet for my concept or way of connecting, I do really connect with him as a being of light and light, and that we are beings of light incarnate, and that I have a primary partnership with him, just as you and I are co-creating right here and right now. So I would say yes and no would be kind of the simple answer to that.
Okay. Beautiful. All right. And so you do many workshops on how people can learn to scribe with universal cosmic consciousness. So let's talk about that, because it really is, when we speak of we know what we know, what we know, this is what we're getting into as well. But so often we may get the directive or get the instructions, but we don't do anything with it. We may dismiss it. And this is really where, if we take those action steps, it's really beautiful what unfolds. So, talk a little bit more about how we begin to scribe with our guides.
Mhm. Well, as one of the subjects of our co-creation here today is really myth and illusion busting, I would begin with really what is scribing and what's meant by the scribe. Because right away, when that word comes in, what gets talked about or thought about is writing. And that there's also a lot of past lives and in this incarnation where the scribe would copy what someone else was kind of bringing forward, that was one version of scribing. So to be clear of what I mean by scribing, it really is being a creator and being an innovator of consciousness, to really be bringing forward those energies and vibrations that are creating what you speak of as the new earth, or on that leading edge, that leading wave of consciousness. So to me, scribe is creator, and scribe is also creator through energy and vibration, or accessing frequencies, consciousness, wisdom. So we can scribe through meditation, we can scribe through writing, we can scribe through speaking or channeling. And that the purpose, from my perspective, or what makes scribed material different, is that it comes through in wholeness, it comes through in oneness. So as we incarnated or were born in this lifetime, the ticket to get in was separation, the divine forgetting. And so scribing is also a pathway of that divine remembering, that ascribed text. And that's what you were describing in the beginning of our conversation, is that as we're together, sometimes you would have physical sensations. That's also because the information as it comes through in wholeness rather than in separation. So word is chosen, and yet the word is representative of divine wholeness. So that's kind of one of the definitions of scribing, what I mean by scribing. And then how it really helps us in our daily life is that we have that clarity of next steps and being able to access consciousness on demand. So to me, it's a very efficient and effective way of living, with guidance, and also because there are infinite possibilities, to really be tuning into, well, what are those optimal ones for me right now? What's that next step right now? And what you brought forward is also kind of two steps, and it's not really like two different things, but there's the receiving of the information, and then there's the choice to implement it. So sometimes individuals will shut down the capacity to scribe out of the fear that then once you have the information, you have to do something with it. And that it's always in alignment with free will and conscious choice. So that's also why it's very important to bring into completion those illusions or those fears, because as we move more into our potency and our power, it from my experience, those fears come to the surface to be included back in the wholeness, back into the oneness, so we can move forward powerfully and clearly.
Well, I really love it, because this is what we talk about with New Earth. It's working with this higher consciousness. So I love that. And it's working with guidance. And so tapping into it is of utmost importance. And I know, again, the world that's created from that will be really beautiful. much different than the world we see out there, which kind of keeps us from that. So,
As well as us needing the idea in the past that we needed an intercessor between us and the divine, or between us and our higher guidance. That in the past there was that power over paradigm where we would look outside of us, the priest or the parent or the authority. And so to me, this is also a reclaiming of our inner knowing and our birthright to really be accessing and knowing directly what's best for us, and taking back that very clear awakened step to be creating from being plugged in, tapped in, and not having to go out into the cave or on a meditation retreat, yet like as a natural part of our day, a natural part of our now moment. And from my experience, it also really just creates at the speed of light. I remember when I used to teach, I would plan out everything, like from 9 to 9:15, I'm going to do this. From 9:15 to 9:45, I'm going to do this. And I'm a big fan of structure, and that's important to have it both be grounded and guided. Yet now there's this flow and this drop and deliver, this trust, that this co-creation with the guidance. And that's a big shift, because I think in the old paradigm, the intellect was so heavily leaned upon, like it was driving the bus. And a lot of us that are on the Earth Star at this time, really leading the consciousness, there are new ways of doing things. And so the scribe also opens up how you can know something, like you said, you know that you know, without necessarily having to go to school for 12 years about it. So that's what I also love about scribing and co-creating with Thoth, is that I don't know necessarily what the next word's going to be from a consciousness level, but I trust that it's going to be a contribution and very clear and direct. So that reclaiming of our inner guidance system is really important and empowering.
And you said an operative word there, trust. That's really something that keeps people, I hear that a lot when people are like, how do you know what the information is? How can you trust the information?
Yes, and that there are some illusions wrapped up around that, and I think that could be a good thing to really bring forward again when Thoth moves forward later on in the conversation, because it is an overlay and a distortion, and for me, the experience is also what builds the trust. And then being very clear about what vibration and frequency you're choosing to tap into. And one of the illusions or the myths or the stopping, the scriber's blocks, as I like to call them, is that like, well, am I making this up? Can I trust it? And out of the millions of billions of things, if it's really life enhancing and seems to be a contribution, why would you make up that particular thing? So for individuals that have that rub, I really invite for your experience to lead and develop that trust rather than stopping it. It's a little bit, if you are trying to write, there's this free flow that happens. And yet if as the words are coming in, you're editing it and you're deleting it and you're editing it and you're going back, then nothing really comes forward. So there are those inner collective consciousness limiting beliefs that are somehow just programmed in there that aren't even really ours, like, can I trust this? Or another one that really comes forward strongly is the illusion of confusion. How much do we spend time thinking that we're confused when really we're not? That's just a protective mechanism. So there are a lot of survival mechanisms in place that energetically we can really address: the fear of visibility, the fear of losing love, being ostracized, kicked out of the tribe. And really I've noticed this a lot because I'm in communion or contribution with individuals that lean heavily on the woo side or the spiritual energy side, and or have very logical, grounded structure, action taking, high performance. And I'm really a combination of both, that above and below. And so as we move forward as well in this new earth, there's the owning or the integration of both of those. So oftentimes somebody who's very woo may also underneath really have a deep desire to make an impact, and then vice versa. So someone may be hiding the woo side, like if somebody knows how spiritual you really are, or what you really believe, or what you spend your time on, then you'll be kicked out of the tribe. And then also within the spiritual community, there may also be that hiding of well-being or wealth or health to try to fit into a structure. So to me, that's another important myth to really bust, is that you can either have access to consciousness or connection to the divine, or be in the material planes and not both. That's really a myth. And from my perspective, it's time to support our missions as well with being resourced with greater resources. So that is a little bit of what we're up to and what I would place on the altar. And I invite each of you as well to place on the altar, this etheric altar that we're co-creating, what is a block that stops you from your clarity or from moving forward, so that we can together really include that back in the wholeness and the oneness, and move forward powerfully and potently.
I know so many are ready to do that, especially this year, really feeling that call to step up in a powerful and potent way. And it seems like the last couple of years have been really one where people are coming out of the spiritual shell, right? They're not hiding anymore. We all tend to feel that way, or kind of shy. And so that's very interesting. It's almost like that's a core fear from past lives, right? Where we were persecuted for speaking our voice. And so now we are in a place where we are safe and we can do that again. So thank you. Now let's talk a little bit about the guides that we would begin to scribe. You were mentioning that earlier. And how would one begin to be aware of their guides and this connection?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, there really is this synergy or alignment that I am aware of between the guide and the individual. There's a vibrational match, and that can look very different depending on what your focus is or scope. And so for some, it may be direct with the divine or source, infinite oneness, God, Goddess, Great Spirit, all that there is. And then for others, and this has been the experience for me, that Thoth is really an access point to the divine. And yet through that line or access point of infinite knowledge, then I can access greater source consciousness. So that's how it looks like for me. And then also I have a wider council of light. So for another individual, it may be the higher self, or it may be nature. It may be the energy of the elements of earth or air or water or fire. So the important thing from my perspective, and one of the aspects that really creates deeper access to guidance, is also that it looks like you and feels like you, and not trying to be how it is for somebody else or how it looks for somebody else. That there's already ways that you're scribing or that you're receiving guidance. And then for those that do connect to angels or animals or ascended masters, oftentimes there's this synergy between the purpose and what it is that you're up to, and then what beings of light will really support that. So for me, I have a very high connection to communication, writing, speaking, the Akashic records, scribing. There's a real affinity or synergy between not only my past lives, but also this incarnation. So Thoth is really a primary partner. For others, it may also be divine quality. What is it that you carry, or what is it that you aspire to? It may be love. And then all the choices of light beings that have to do with love, like Isis or Anna, grandmother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene. There's so many beings of light that are love. So there's a little bit, there's a lot there. It's a bigger subject, and it may relate to past lives. It may relate to divine light mission or purpose, and also your frequency and your vibration, what it is that you're here for in this incarnation to expand into and to contribute with. So the ways to connect, and my sense is that a lot of individuals already have this connection in some way or some awareness, and to really be acknowledging, like, one of the visions that I have for the new earth is that individuals just come in with the knowing of who their primary partners are, that we're not alone, that we have support, that there's so much support in the energy realms, and then we can just go for what we're here for. So it's always about free will and conscious choice. That's one of the overlays too, is that if you scribe or your channel, you're going to be taken over, or something's going to be done to you. And that's just not, it's just not how I roll, or it's not something to enter into it from or with, and to really be clear about what frequencies and vibrations you're choosing to tap into.
Okay, so there's no fear there. There's nothing to worry about. And when you mention that some already know it, and we may not even realize that it's a guide, but we can feel those moments of inspiration. And I love how you said it's when it could be out in nature. I mean, look how simple that is, where the inspiration comes from being out in nature. So then that brings up the question I can hear from some folks saying, how would you know? Would you get a name?
I do think it's a good idea to ask for a symbol or a name or a color or some way to connect in again, so that there can be, just like as we're building a connection with other individuals on the Earth Star, there's a getting to know period. There's a recognition of the signature energy. There's that, like, if you were going to walk into a room, kind of the energy blueprint that you send ahead, that individuals would be able to guess that it's you. that the guides are like that as well, and to begin to identify more with what those signature energies are, and to ask questions, because it really is a co-creation. Yeah, and experience builds as well that communication. And for others, it may also be those loved ones that have passed on, that it may not be as in a master's, yet it may be a family member, or getting that guidance from somebody who's on the other side. And so there's this question of like, well, how is it that you begin? And it really depends on, that's why it's not like a one size fits all. It really depends on the individual. And at the same time, there are some guidelines that are good to have, like your choice, and really honoring that it's divine to divine, from a place of equality, from a place of equanimity. That, in my experience, is really how it works best. That we're not going into it like the guide is above us or has power over us, yet really that we're here to partner and to co-create. And for me, that's been such a deep healing over the years of really hanging out with Thoth and the Council of Light, is that absolute impeccability in the co-creation on the 50-yard line, never any power over, power under. So that may also be a guidepost, that if an individual is sensing that may actually be an emanation of a slower vibration that's either within, coming up to be included back in the wholeness, or tapping into a vibration that may not be a contribution.
Okay, very cool. Wonderful. And I love how the experience with this becomes our truth, and we do trust it with that experience. So let's do something where we can experience this for ourselves. You said that when we begin to recognize that energetic signature, then that's how we know as well. And then we ask maybe for a symbol. So can you take us on a divine transmission and a journey here?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, so this feels like a great place to bring in Thoth and the Council of Light. And so I'll just take a moment to do that, and inviting each of you to tune into your signature energy, that which makes you uniquely you, your free will and your conscious choice to pick up what's yours to be and do and have, nothing more, nothing less. This is Thoth with the path of the Venus light, beings of light, and an extended intergalactic council of light, including the Arcturians and the Lemurians and the rose panel beings of light that include Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Anna, Isis, Osiris, as well as the Golden Stargate, Sanat Kumara. So there are many beings of light that are moving more into the forefront of this divine transmission. And how we would begin is with our delight and our joy to be co-creating with you in this way. It is in response to your asking and your choosing and your originating, that at this time in the evolution and consciousness, that which will create from our perspective a quantum leap is partnering with frequencies and vibrations that are creator codes or divine vibrations. And so one way of speaking about that is partnerships between beings of light incarnate, such as yourselves, and beings of light in light, such as us who are residing in the energy planes, and that you have a very unique vantage point by incarnating in this lifetime, that has a lot of how to say, momentum, for you are also residing in what you would call the third dimension. So we are opening with an honoring of our divine appointment, if you will, and the opportunity, the choice to also be unpacking a deeper vision that you incarnated with on in this lifetime, that's awakening. And to us, that's also one of the deeper purposes of scribing with guides and opening stargates, to also be asking for and accessing frequencies and vibrations that exist in other star systems, other civilizations, other spaces and time, although it is all in this now moment. So in addition to that opening, what we would bring forward as a first step in this communion, this co-creation, is really amplifying your unique signature energy. To think of yourself as a key that has, just as a key has very unique grooves, it opens this door and it doesn't open that door, that you in this scribed conversation are opening what's yours and nothing more, nothing less. And that's based on a combination of your signature energy and your choice, and really tapping into what it is that's optimal for you in this now moment. So we'd invite you to really be, through your desire, through your choice, be amplifying the unique signature energy key that you are, to allow yourself to become more visible within your own system to who it is that you are, which brings us, we know, hand in hand with this fear of visibility, that we're inviting you to turn up your signature energy, which then, if there is that fear of visibility, you may find that you get to a threshold where that starts to get uncomfortable, or it starts to bring up, well, the last 18 lifetimes when I was visible, it led to all of that persecution, being ostracized. And so we are broadcasting a signal of really that recognition that this is a different incarnation, and that you're vibrating in many dimensions. So you can still choose what you make verbally visible and what you're broadcasting as a multidimensional being in the higher planes. And so that is also a sign of the new earth, as you would call it, that you're vibrating and broadcasting simultaneously in many dimensions, and that there isn't the holding back anymore in the higher dimensions. So we know that safe and unsafe in unity consciousness has a different vibration, yet for the part of you that will stop this in its tracks when you have a sense of feeling not safe, we're inviting you to be visible to yourself in a dimension where you naturally reside or broadcast. and that isn't a way of being invisible, it's a way of being discerning. Good. So we know there's a lot in there, a lot that your mind may be trying to understand. And we'd invite you to ask the part of you that knows what it is that we mean by that. And we'll bring an analogy to bring that more into light. And so you may walk into a board meeting or a dentist appointment or the grocery store or whatever it is, really connected to your higher self and connected to your guides, and asking for the highest outcome to unfold from that dentist appointment, that board meeting, and that you're choosing to communicate higher self to higher self, and that your system knows how to do that. And so you walk into the meeting, into the dentist appointment, into the grocery store, and you may talk about whatever is most natural and present in that moment. And that you're not necessarily saying, I'm walking into this dentist appointment and I have my guide here with me, and I've asked your guide as the dentist to also be helping for the highest outcome possible. Yet you're broadcasting that. You're not hiding that that's a part of your divine, brilliant system. And so we are giving that example to provide a clarity, because when we speak about being you fully and expressing who it is that you are fully, that can be one of the ways that you stop yourself. What if somebody doesn't like or isn't a fan of, or it's not what they believe? You can still be visible on a vibrational level. And vibrational visibility is also calibrated to frequency. So if somebody accesses that dimension, that frequency, they'll have access to the consciousness. And if they don't, they don't. It doesn't mean they're better or worse. Yet there is also this built-in safety mechanism, for this is another scribe illusion, that you have to keep higher consciousness a secret. We can broadcast everything, 100% of all dimensions of the most potent consciousness that is available at this time. And because it's vibrationally encoded or vibrationally stored in pockets of consciousness, if you have the key to access it, you'll access it. If it's yours to be and do and have, nothing more and nothing less. And if not, then you don't. And that's also, and then we would pause here for a moment because we know we're opening with an introduction. That's also a way that you can build trust in yourself and what's unfolding for you in your daily basis. And on a daily basis, is that the information, the guidance that you're going to access is really bespoke and customized for you. Good. And so is there a specific empowerment or transmission that this group is asking for? So we would invite each of you, if you're called, to close your eyes and to tap into that heart knowing, that guidance, and to be turning on the energy of appreciation, of gratitude, as we're broadcasting appreciation and gratitude to you. And that appreciation and gratitude opens your DNA. It opens your inner Akashic records. It opens your inner library. And you may even imagine that as you go within your heart and you go within the energy of appreciation, that you imagine a heart cell, a master cell that's unique to you. And that you travel your awareness inward to the inner universe that resides within. And as you're going more and more and more and more within to tap into your guidance, not what we would suggest that you do, yet your guidance, you may be aware of the water in the cell. Water is the carrier of consciousness. You may be aware of the nucleus of the cell, that within the nucleus of the cell, there is the DNA and the RNA. And to go within your Akashic records, within the DNA, and to go even more deeply, you can breathe long and slow and deep. Allow yourself to sink into yourself, to drop for these few minutes and moments your external focus on what you should be doing or could be doing or what others may want you to do. Really to be tapping into your inner light, your inner knowing. And then if you choose, within your DNA, we would invite you to make 2 requests. One is for anything that you would choose. And 2 is to really ask anywhere in your DNA that you're carrying an illusion that stops you from having crystal clarity, that stops you from knowing your optimal next steps, that you flag and tag that you bring those Akashic records forward. And you may even imagine that you're meeting me, Thoth, in the Akashic Records library, or your guide or your higher self is guiding this process. We know we're moving quickly, yet you are moving quickly. You're choosing exponential growth, quantum growth, not linear growth. And so, as you're tapped into the fear, perhaps of visibility, the fear of losing love, the fear of being killed, the fear of going crazy, the fear of doing something wrong, the fear that if you pick up your potency and your power, that then you will do harm to another, vows of secrecy, silence, turning away your gifts and talents, just in a neutral way, inviting all that in the DNA to be tagged and flagged. And just like you might really identify what you've outgrown or what's expired, if you were going through your refrigerator and you were looking through expiration dates, you're just like putting everything in a pile that is expired, that is outgrown, that is out of alignment with who it is that you are in this now moment. With neutrality. There may even be some energies in your fridge that don't even belong to you. Like if a friend brought over some condiments that they like and they've gone expired in your fridge, you would also just take those out And we would bring forward some language of light to facilitate this process even more. Inanoshtikastakatiya nanakadaya. And the language of light can also be numbers and colors, sound, shape, sacred geometry, takatina nastia, 9, oshtikina namakaya, emerald green, ishtakotina nanistia, teal, okushtikina naminkatiwastam katiwastaya. And so we'd invite you to allow, if you choose, all of this to be rocket fuel for your evolution in consciousness. And to ask it all, if you choose, to come back into oneness, into wholeness, and or be upgraded to its next evolution in consciousness. So you're not trying to get rid of any energy. It's all you, it's all beautiful. You're transmuting it. Good. And while that's happening, we would invite you to ask for that next step for you, to be scribing, downloading, having clarity, what you can be doing or being that is a reflection of you and your next step. And it may come now, it may come in the shower, it may come when you wake up. That's a beautiful tip to do, to ask that you know when you wake up before you go to bed. Inanashtikata toi ma anestikati ankashtikati nananiamakashtiwakati kastia. Ishtakataya mokashtikani namakati wakashtikaya. Ina anamoshtiki ina stakataya ukustakati nanastiwakatan makatiwa. So we would invite you to bask for a few moments in the silence. And as you're ready to, knowing that you've made contact with the quantum field, the field of infinite possibilities, the divine, your guides, and you've created more space by folding back in the oneness everything that's outdated and expired. We'd invite you to gently bring your awareness up from the space where there's only love and light, back up through the DNA, the RNA, tuning into the water in the cell. And asking that the water in the cell is attuned, if you choose, to your signature energy, that you are informing the cell with your unique vibration, amplifying you as that key, so that as you go forth, you are bringing to you those optimal individuals, opportunities, situations. And as we're bringing this guided transmission towards a place of completion, we'd invite you to ask for a word or a symbol or a name, a color of your guide or of your access point to source. And then taking your time to bring your awareness back, perhaps wiggling your toes and your fingers or rubbing your palms together. And continuing to bask in the energies, knowing that this continues to ripple out as you're ready to opening your eyes. And welcome back. And is there anything that you would ask or reflect?
It is truly an inside job. This shift in consciousness, making the world a better place, is truly an inside job. And I felt that. Thank you for helping us to gather up that fear that's in our DNA. I just wanted to share that. It's quite exquisite and we can feel it. And so this is what it means to broadcast from this place. I just feel that right now, and I hope everyone can feel it. There's not much to say with that. That's so empowering. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes, and that vibrational visibility to really be broadcasting what's yours to be and do and have nothing more, nothing less, and moving out of the illusion of one size fits all, or that your life should look like somebody else's, or that what happened in your ancestry is ruling your life. That to really be vibrating your unique signature energy and be that key that you be. And we are celebrating this co-creation as we're stepping aside, inviting each to call upon us as you're called. All is light, and we are all. Well, this is Danielle moving more to the forefront. Beautiful.
So exquisite with you, just the vibration of that and feeling that. It shows us the path, and it shows us how simple it can be. Not easy necessarily, but this deep, deep inside job of our vibration. Thank you. And what a beautiful counsel that came through. It's like, my goodness, all Sanat Kumara, Venus, oh my gosh, the rose, the Lemurians, that is so good for our tribe here. That touches all of our hearts so deeply. I find it so fascinating that those are the ones who show up. So here we are to amplify our key, to amplify our signature energy key, and to do it with no fear. It was wonderful removing that fear and amplifying it. I'm just elated right now.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful vibrational decluttering, almost like reminding me of Michael and the creating of of David, of sloughing off everything. I'm still coming back, so the words are coming back. Sloughing off everything that isn't David, but from a vibrational level. Because sometimes, as we're choosing to actualize the inner work on the outer planes, there can be this mixed signal that we're giving out, and to really, that's what I would take away from that particular transmission, was just really anything that's expired, going back in the wholeness, or anything that's not uniquely us, so we can broadcast a very clear signal and then move forward with the actionable steps. Because sometimes I think there can be leaning too much on the inside vibration and not the below and the without, that both the as above, so below, as within, so without, the alignment with inspired action is also really essential to this evolution in consciousness.
Yes. Yes, beautifully said there. And so I know that many received a signal or a color or maybe even a sound, and that was just so beautiful. So when we work with that, I'll share mine. I saw an infinity symbol, golden. And so when we work with our own individual symbol, that's almost like an instantaneous tap-in point. Is that right?
Yeah, that it's a little bit like a direct point, or a shortcut in some ways, to really be tapping into that wholeness, or that direct plug-in. And then also bringing forward more of the sensations, that as you have that visual and the color and the energy of it, there's so much to that, the scribed, what you scribed there as your symbol, or what came to you, that there's so many layers also vibrationally to that symbol. So that can be like turning on the car, or pushing the button, like the ignition to that direct connection.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was really wonderful. Again, I want to thank you for that. And the feeling of reaching for appreciation and gratitude absolutely shifted a lot. So it's always reaching for higher frequencies, higher vibrational frequencies, and getting rid of all that is expired within us. That's a very powerful technique there. So thanks again for that divine transmission. And I wanted to chat a little bit about your work now, because this was a little introduction to the greater and the deeper work that you do. There's a special offer, a couple of options, and one is a nice longer workshop introduction with you. And then another one is this whole in-depth, get serious and go for it course. So I wanted to give you a moment to talk about those two options coming up for us. It's a beautiful way to really go deep with all of this.
Yes. So there is the special offer A, let's call it the Awaken the Scribe Code, which is a combination of Thoth 100% embodied audio and video, and transmission as well, to bust these illusion myths, as well as a supercharge your divine connection. So a combination of audios and videos that really are designed to awaken that scribe code. And one of the things I really love about that title and the essence of this special offer is that it already is within you. It's natural. It's turning it on in your unique way, and then moving forward. And that seems to be a real theme for this particular group that's coming through, of everyone tuning in, is really being who it is that you are, and shining that inner light. So the audio and video, which I think is pretty interesting to bring forward because it relates to both special offers, are Thoth 100% embodied. And that 100% embodiment, it's not necessary all the time. And yet when he comes through in that way, it's really a beautiful experience, and also modeling how it is that each individual can be 100% embodied. And so that's kind of the taster, if you will. And then there's also special offer B, which includes all of that, plus a weekend with Thoth and friends that is 9 interactive on the higher self level, because someone can bilocate, meaning participating remotely or in spirit, and then also interactive. So the interaction is also a wider definition. We're used to interacting this way, and yet there's interaction on the higher planes. And so 9 75-minute transmissions to open the 9 stargates of the galactic scribe. And so that's going deeper into it, and also includes a 72-hour Scribes of Light library, bespoke one-on-one energy vortex with Thoth, to really be downloading more what your unique body of work is, or vision, or mission. And then it also includes all the recordings of that on the video level. And so that's going deeper, and then reclaiming that capacity to access content on demand. And so how someone applies scribing is so unique to each individual. And yet for me, the scribing piece is really also how I create everything. So if I'm writing an email, or if I'm making a decision, or if I'm downloading a book, that it can be for those that are on a personal growth path, to have that crystal clarity, and also at the speed of light. And then it can also be a great contribution for those that are choosing to incorporate it somehow in, as a light worker, or as somebody bringing forward that energy and consciousness. So it's very galactic and also very grounded.
And I just love it too, because it's our information. It's tapping into us, and it's working in alignment with our higher self, from divine to divine. As you said, it's the wisdom that's available for us. And that's how New Earth gets created. I love it. Can we imagine everyone making these decisions on our planet, tuned in this way, tapped in this way? That's why all of us listening and watching a program like this are the New Earth leaders. And so this tool allows us to tap into that in a huge way. And I love it. I can only hope for all of our planet, all of the beings on our planet, to awaken in this way. So this is the beginning, and it's happening.
Yes, it's a very extraordinary, exciting time, and that we all have our contribution that's unique. And as we come together, it's also enriching the contributions of others. And so I love too about the scribing, really leaning into those frequencies and vibrations that aren't on the Earth Star yet, and that we're here to turn those on, to call those in, to bring those forward. And that's really the innovation, the pioneering that a lot of us are up to with the visions that we carry. That it's not necessarily, although it's ancient and innovative wisdoms, for me, I really noticed that shift in my purpose where the ancient wisdom is still present, but is really midwifing the innovative wisdoms and that which we have access to, yet through our own direct connection. And that creates new paradigms, new ways of being, and is exciting and fun as well. Brings back that zest for life and really completes that sense of ho-hum or the apathy that was also a part of the illusion of just kind of doing the same thing, expecting different results, but really accessing our light technologies and the tools that we have from not only past lives, but also future lives as well. Beautiful. Very exciting times.
Exciting times. And so awaken the scribe within. Beautiful. All right. So that special offer, of course, is available on this website in 2 options. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. It is very deep work, and it is for serious work and bringing forth the big dreams, the big changes, and the transformation in our world. Thanks a lot for that special offer. I do appreciate it, and we all appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I look forward to sharing it with those that are called. It's really a great joy.
And you mentioned as well in our program today that we are opening Stargates. Can you talk a little bit about this? This opening of a Stargate is what you did just mention about bringing new frequencies onto the planet. So I know there's a question on that. Opening Stargates. What is that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, as it applies to the weekend with Thoth and friends, it's really opening the 9 stargates of the galactic scribe. And so those stargates are access points, really shifting or lifting any sense of the veils and tapping into, just as you mentioned as well, how many different light beings step forward for this particular council transmission. So there may be a Stargate to the path of the Venus light beings of light, for example. And the path of the Venus light beings of light really connect with the energy of divine genius, or from their Stargate to really be doing and expressing the full brilliance of gifts and talents is natural. So if somebody's a strawberry, you're being your fully sun-ripened, juiciest, succulent strawberry without holding back or dimming it down or fear or doubt or shame or any of that. So there's a Stargate that relates to the path of the Venus light for those individuals that are really in your evolutionary stage, accessing more of your divine genius, or have a mission to also support others in their divine genius. So the Stargates can be thresholds that we have within ourselves to turn on our capacities. And then Stargates can also be really to particular consciousness. So the Lemurian or the Arcturian, and having like a key into those energies, and to be learning, and also not only learning, but contributing to those star systems and those Stargates. So Stargates is a larger topic, and also related to a hologram, that every line within a hologram has the wholeness of all that there is within it. So Stargates can also be created for a particular purpose, almost like energy environments or energy containers. Like we would walk into a room that's a kitchen, we would go into a Stargate or open a Stargate for a certain purpose. And it reminds me of your original question, which was what I say that Thoth is a higher aspect of me or an emanation of me. I think we're also stargates as star seeds or as galactic beings in form. And so opening stargates is really opening us and our access to source and living as divine beings.
Beautifully said. And we get that. We get that in a beautiful way. We are the Stargates. Beautiful. And it's this connection to the higher frequencies. My goodness, that is so comforting. And so, for anyone that can move into despair, anyone who still has challenges with despair or depression, this is a beautiful way out, a beautiful way to transcend that, going deeply within. We cannot iterate that enough. It's beautiful. We are the Stargate. Thank you.
Yes.
I so appreciate you being here, Danielle Rama Hoffman. So I honor you and thank you for that time. Is there anything else you want to say about your 3-day virtual video retreat? Of course, it's going to be held over 3 days, and it's where people can bilocate. So it's virtual, meaning that if they don't show up live on the spot, they can still work with it in a tremendous way.
Yes. Well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure and delight to be here and to have the opportunity to share my path of the Venus light, divine gifts. And I honor and acknowledge your mastery and all that you're up to, and such a pleasure to co-create. And in terms of the 3-day virtual weekend with Thoth, the other thing that comes to me to add that we've been kind of pointing at yet haven't really said directly is that as we are tuned into our unique frequency and vibration and tapped into our Stargate, our origin, then there is also a deeper sense of belonging, a deeper sense of transcending any illusion that we're alone or that we have to do it by ourselves. And sometimes that despair can come from feeling so different for so long and looking for others that are the same when really we're each individuals, one of one. And so the weekend with Thoth, it is a reunion as well of friends, and to be able to scribe that bespoke frequency and energy that feels like home. And that is also what we're able now in the new earth, from my perspective, to access those energies and frequencies that feel like home and our home, even if we come from another galaxy or our origin star or our divine connection has a different frequency than the vibrations that had been on the Earth star. Now there can be a variety of frequencies that don't cancel each other out. So to me, this online video retreat is an invitation to pick up the packages that you've left for yourself to find and to reunite with, to also catalyze that deeper sense of belonging and reunion and being at home, as well as a multidimensional being, that split between spirit and matter really gets reunified, and we're operating as light beings incarnate. So what I would add is also inviting those of you that are called to join this weekend with Thoth. For me and others that have also chosen to create partnerships in this way, it's been so loving and reassuring and also exponential. So it's going to be a lot of fun too.
Beautiful work and beautiful teachings. Thank you so much for this assistance. It's so enlightening and awesome and empowering, and it's so comforting. We are home, we are home, we are home, and we are the Stargates living in this big multidimensional way. Danielle Rama Hoffman, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.